And so I sing its praises all day. I've become an outspoken advocate to it. I had this trombone group. I got called for this gig recently, and I was just like, "So what have you been doing?" It's like, honestly, I haven't been gigging that much. I've been growing my online business, and I just had my first 25K month last month. They're just like, "Oh, okay, I want to hear about that." I'm like, "Yeah, you do. Of course you do. That's what I did." And so, like, anyway, like I said, I've become an outspoken advocate for it because I believe in it. It makes the change. It does these things. It gets you these things. In October, I collected 23,750. When it was 20, it was within a 30-day period of like October 30th to like November 20th or something like that. I made 25K. And so that was, the most money I'd made in 1 month, let alone 2 weeks in my entire life. And
Hmm.
so I started ads in July. I made something like two or three sales. I was just happy to make my money back and then have enough money to do it for another month. So that was exciting.
So you started
Um,
ads in July and you made two to three
July.
sales in
Yes.
July. Okay. And then from that first sale you got though, you're able to use that funds to invest in July, but then it made you more sales then, right?
Correct. I
Okay.
was, it was like I was just stoked that I was able to make my money back, but then have enough money to keep it going. So that was like really exciting. Because I
Hmm.
was kind of like, okay, here we go. Like this is what they tell me to do. Like uh
Hmm.
it made sense, but of course I was nervous and hadn't done it and was unsure.
And
But
what were
then
you most nervous about, if I may ask?
losing money. I
Mm.
mean, the transition from uh whatever, me or anyone's established relationship with money to, okay, I'm going to let it ride. Okay, I'm going to not be too attached. Okay, I'm going to watch I'd earned the the group had earned my trust such that I knew that spending the cost of one ticket of the sale, right? Like one sales worth of money to go towards ads was like, you just don't, like, just do that. Just set that aside. Don't do a few hundred, don't do less, like do a full 48, 68, whatever it is. Like I had trusted that that would be a good idea. It was scary. Um, I mean, I think it was in hindsight, so many of the things that have been scary that then got not scary was just the fear of doing them and having never done it before. And then once you do it and have done it, everything gets easier. The webinar, spending money, risking, investing, like I hadn't done that. I haven't built another business before. I haven't invested a lot of money in something before. And so having this significant chunk of change in one go and then investing that was scary. But then to get the results back, I think I remember those first weeks. It was like 2 days later, and I was like, "How are my ads?" I was like coming to the calls, being like, "How's it going? Am I doing this right? Like, what should I change?" Very like nervous, rightfully so.
Mhm.
And I will say, and I sing the praises of you guys all day. The support that I got every step of the way when I was anxious, when I was unsure, whether I was had a question, has just been it makes all the difference. Like the data is valuable, the protocol and the formulas are valuable. The support is what I feel the most stoked about the investment price. Like the investment price is valuable on so many levels, but the support that the company, that Paul and you guys have formulated, like you've been there. You've been there for many times when I was reaching out to you or Joseph or the group or the calls, whether I was more emotional, whether I was unsure, whether I had little nitpicky questions. You guys were always patient, supportive, understanding, and even quicker and quicker to respond as the group's grown. And like you guys, it's just been so like, I know I'm going a little off topic, but let me at least give this amazing testimonial for you guys to again use and profit from and all this stuff. So anyway, so invested in July, got enough sales to keep it going, and then not just make my money back, but then have another month. And then I can't remember if I made two or three sales. I could pull it up. But it was like, cool, I'm like profiting. And so that was really exciting. In October, I collected 23,750. When it was 20, it was within a 30-day period of like October 30th to like November 20th or something like that. I made 25K. But basically, what changed was I did a webinar which was the best webinar I've had to date. I had people book calls with me during the webinar, which that hadn't happened before. I'd have people would be like, "Oh, this is cool, and maybe I'll sign up." Or like one time I had one person left over, and we transitioned into the conversation. And but this was the one where I think I made 5 sales that month. Again, I kind of counted 6 within the 30-day period, so I wanted to point that out for as far as like the 25K per month it was 30 days, whatever. I leave that to you, um, but it was the webinar that the next week gave me something like 3 or 4 sales in one week. Um, and so that was, the most money I'd made in one month, let alone 2 weeks in my entire life, because I've been having the success that I've had, and people have been talking to me. Number one, some people joining the group are people I know just in my life, like Jordan, Jordan, a drummer from Nashville. He was at Berkeley the same time as me and Paul, and so I saw him and I was like, Jordan, you remember me? Because we did stuff years ago. He's like, yeah, we connected, and other people have been like, hey, I'm thinking about this, and so I've been able to help people through the mindset shift, because there's layers to that. There's the mind shift of, I've never done this before, am I worth it, and then it's like, okay, I read the book, I've listened to these people, I have the value, cool. And then you go for it, and then you make a webinar, and that's a whole, I've been telling people, I've been that active voice, like, do the webinar, do the webinar, do the webinar, because the clarity I had about what I had to offer went from 0 to 100 with just doing the webinar. I don't even mean performing it live, I mean just making it. Like,
Mhm.
before I even did it live, I made it. And then all of a sudden, just taking the time to get my ideas clear, to put them in order, to present them. I was still writing emails. All of a sudden, my emails were just like flying off. It was just like, oh, this is the thing. Bam. It was just, so each step of the process is this own self-fulfilling prophecy thing. It's amazing. It's like, you're not sure if you have enough teaching skills. Okay, here's your hypothesis. Okay, someone bought, someone signed up, someone shut up. Great. Okay, you keep going. The amount of clarity and ninja abilities I now have to talk about my stuff, to help all trombone players, to deal with any problem. Like, I don't, for a while I was like, oh, is what I have gonna help as many problems as possible? And
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, it can. And then again, it's like I'm kind of going all over the place, because all of these things are connected, and it's like, oh, you do the thing to talk to people, to get more insight, to refine your thing, to make it better, to talk to more people, to get more insight, to refine your thing. It's like this very positive generation positive reinforcement sort of cycle. And anyway, I'm kind of
Yeah, no, that's all really, really, really great. And if I could ask a follow-up question, so from when you just started and until now, like how has this business that you've built changed your life, whether it's like actual like changes within your life or even just like the mindset shifts? Like, would you be open to sharing a little bit more about that?
one of the biggest core mindset shifts that I've kind of talked about. There's been several steps where it's like, okay, I've never done this. This is a little nerve-wracking. I'm gonna do it because I've invested, I've paid, so I'm paying attention, so I'm gonna do it. The process of doing that, and then so being afraid of something new, and then trying it, and then feeling more confident and better about it. That's almost like a life skill, right? Like, there's something new I've never done before. I know that if I do it, it's going to get better. So I'm just going to push myself to do it. One of the core life changes has been just reinforcing the value of putting yourself out there, trusting the fact that you doing it is going to make it better for you. It's like some of the two biggest mindset, sorry, I'm trying to be concise. That some of the two biggest mindset changes have been, there is no failure. Like, go for no. Even when you lose or fail, you are not losing or failing. You're getting data, you're getting information, you're getting practice. That was one of the things. It was like every time there was a fear, it was like, it all of a sudden I realized, I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of making a fool of myself. I was afraid of missing the target. I was afraid of not making the sale. I think everyone is when they've never done this before. And the more that I trusted the process, took the support and the confidence of you and everyone to push myself to do it. After doing that enough times throughout the process, I realized, oh, that's what I started to realize. There is no failure. There is no loss. There is literally only things to gain. And that's one of my favorite things to kind of chime in when I make the groups or whatever. Is just like, yeah, go for it. Even if you don't make the sale, you get practice. Even if your webinar flops, you can refine it. Like, even if you've never done this before, you can try it and hypothesize it and refine it. Like, everything where there's a perceived loss, there's not a loss. You spend money on data, and maybe your money doesn't get paid back to you, but you got data to work with. Like, there's no thing that you can do that you actually lose. That was a huge mindset shift that took me a few steps to get there, but that's a big one. The other one is, uh, there's a big part of this journey is just going from I hope and think that what I have is worth this money that people are talking about, to I've never felt more sure or more confident that like a year of for me for $5,000, and I'm gonna be upping it next year if everything goes according to plan, which it has been, and the rest of it, like I've never felt more confident that like, oh yeah, this is I have the keys to the castle. This is a totally fair price. It's gonna save you time, it's gonna save you money, it's gonna be easier, it's gonna be more effective. And so a big mindset shift has been from, oh, do I have the value? Is this worth it? To unequivocally, categorically, absolutely. And that's come from having more conversations. Um, Similarly, the sales. You were the probably one of the biggest humps was just the sales, the fear of the sales, the dance of it, the learning the script things to like to know, learning how to adapt, learning how to deal with personalities, learning how to focus on what you need and what you don't need. That was one of the most challenging ones.
Mhm.
But all the support was there for it. Every time I every time I failed, I learned something. Every time I made this mistake, I'd never made that mistake again. And it's like, so again, it's and now I've done something. I'll tell you exactly how many calls I've done year to date. I've
Oh,
done
yeah.
I've done 79 calls.
You're almost to 100. You're so close.
Yeah. And sales calls don't scare me anymore. They excite me or they intrigue me. I'm going to talk to someone. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to practice. I'm going to hopefully make a sale. My listening abilities are like through the roof. And I've noticed it in other aspects of my life too. When I'm with someone and just like my ability to just kind of tune in, like,
Mhm. Or even words of advice of to yourself a year ago, maybe something that you would want to tell past Scott.
yeah. Um, the only way you can fail is if you simply stop doing it. Like, if you actually can embrace the thing that we say, which is, um, don't say it's not working, ask why it's not working. If you can actually embrace that mindset, you literally cannot fail. And part of me, and I'll say this because this will be a good one. Paul sold me into his Passion Builders program. When we first talked, I told him, I was like, I might be one of your hardest students because I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. I didn't realize it at the time. I just thought that this I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I would be able to do this. I wasn't social media savvy. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I hadn't managed a business. I was very unsure of myself. And when I realized that each step of the way, you can only learn, you can only get better. Um, there really is no failure. The only failure is if you're like, cool, I give up. And if you recognize that these systems work, that what you have to offer is actually valuable, the advice that I would say is to, it'd be like, trust the fact that you have something that will help people. Like, uh, really embrace that and go for that. Like, uh, pursue the fact that you can simultaneously make a really lucrative business while really helping people. That was a big mindset, was like, deprogramming from the ickiness of sales,
Mhm.
replacing selling with helping. Um, and I guess part of what I say to people is like, man, if I can do it, you can do it, which is kind of oversimplistic, but it's like I doubted myself. I didn't think what I had was valuable. I wasn't sure it was going to work. The more I got into it, the more risk that I saw, but I also saw that it working. I knew the process worked. And so trust the results, trust the process, change your mindset, and embrace the fact that there really is no failure. You only learn, you only get data, you only get better. And so there's this, it's really like a foolproof kind of system as much as one can be. And it's like literally the only way you can fail is by quitting. And if you want a lucrative business, if you want to help people, if you want to spend time making what you're worth and literally being a really big support system for people and helping them to get what they want and accomplish their desires all at the same time, if you want that, you can do it. You just need to want it. That's it. If you don't want it, cool. But if you want it, you can do it no matter who you are. If you're here and you show up, you're clearly a teacher, you're clearly a musician, you've clearly done some stuff. So you're not without value. And so I sing its praises all day. I've become an outspoken advocate to it. I had this trombone group. I got called for this gig recently, and I was just like, "So what have you been doing?" It's like, honestly, I haven't been gigging that much. I've been growing my online business, and I just had my first 25K month last month. They're just like, oh, okay, I want to hear about that. I'm like, yeah, you do. Of course you do. That's what I did. And so, like, anyway, like I said, I've become an outspoken advocate for it because I believe in it. It makes the change. It does these things. It gets you these things. And it's I'm not where I want to be yet, but I have an amazing business that's like very promising, and I'm just committed to following through. It's this, I guess
Yeah. And of course, we can't wait to see your success and congratulations. Seriously, we're all so, so, so proud of you. And just please keep sharing your wins. And we're here to support you to get to that next milestone. So just know that we're here to support you. But I really appreciate it.
thanks, Julia. I know I appreciate it too.